This happened just yesterday and I had to make a quick video about it when I saw it. Saturday morning, Brookings, South Dakota, USA, a small Beechcraft 35 Debonair with tail number November 1310 Alpha. The one in this picture had just taken off from runway 30 at Brookings Regional Airport. 3 people on board, but it did not get very far. Let's read the incident summary. A Beechcraft 35 Debonair was destroyed when it impacted terrain shortly after takeoff from runway 30 at Brookings Regional Airport in South Dakota. The pilot and 2 passengers sustained serious injuries. Preliminary information indicates the airplane had reached about 200 feet when it experienced partial loss of engine power. The pilot attempted to turn the plane back toward the airport, but the aircraft entered a nosedive and crashed into the ground. No fatalities, but the aircraft was destroyed and all 3 people on board were seriously injured. And this scenario just sounds so familiar. Small general aviation aircraft, engine trouble just after takeoff, and then a turnback attempt that ends with a crash. We've sadly seen this way too often. Now let's take a closer look at the ADSB data. The takeoff roll looks completely normal. The aircraft accelerates to about 69 knots and then lifts off and continues accelerating, peaking at 76 knots with a climb rate just over 500 feet per minute. About 10 seconds later, it's only at 100 feet above ground level and the speed has dropped to 74 knots. That's barely above the minimum performance targets for this airplane. You expect the plane to be about 74 knots around 50 feet, not 100 feet. The climb then starts to degrade. The vertical speed drops from 500 to about 128 feet per minute, and just 5 seconds later, it's showing a minus 256 feet per minute. The plane never got higher than 1,575 feet barometric, and the field elevation that day was 1,450 feet barometric. That means this plane never climbed more than 125 feet above the ground. That's it, no higher. And instead of putting the nose down and land straight ahead, which might have been possible, the airport initiated a left turn back towards the runway, but at that altitude, in a turn with almost no power, the aircraft could just not stay airborne. From this data, it looks like we have a partial engine failure that occurred just after liftoff, still in ground effect, and the aircraft kind of slowly ran out of energy as they tried to lift off the ground. So here's the layout of Brookings Regional Airport. Runway 30 is 6,000 feet long and 100 feet wide. The area around the runway is wide and flat, clear on both sides. This is not a short field and there is plenty of space. Not guaranteed for a landing, but it could have been an option. Um, I put in the actual flight path in Google Earth, as you can see it here. And from rotation to impact, they only made a short arc ending up near the creek on the west side of the airport. They never got to more than 120 feet, 25 feet above the ground. Um, Now, I can't say with certainty what the outcome could have been. But if they had continued straight ahead, they might have been able to put it down back on the runway if they had acted quickly. Most likely it would have been a hard landing, but there seemed from the data to have been enough runway left for that to be a possibility. They might have overrun the runway, but it would have been a much lower impact speed than what actually happened. Another possibility could be that they floated across the creek and made an emergency landing on the large field on the other side. The turn, that's actually where everything goes wrong. The engine is already failing and the plane is barely climbing. They are only a few hundred feet above the ground, not even a few hundred, actually only 125 feet off the ground. And the pilot tries to turn back. That's a decision we've sadly seen so many times before, and it almost never ends well, especially not at that altitude. It's almost impossible. I've had engine failures in single engine planes myself, and it is terrifying. But we've trained for this. For me, I was lucky. It happened at 2,000 feet, so I had plenty of time to shut down the engine, and my engine had a oil leak, so I had oil all over my windscreen and couldn't see anything. So I had to shut down the engine to not completely destroy it, and was able to do a full pattern and land on the active runway. So I made it down safe without any issues. But if you're at 200 feet or even lower, then there's no time for troubleshooting. You have to act quick. You can't enter a pattern and land. You just have to act on instinct, and that's instinct that has to be trained. And we rehearse this, or we should rehearse this a lot of times. I've rehearsed emergency landings countless times. You trim for best glide, pick a spot, and then you commit. But in the moment, it's not always as easy as you think. But sometimes you might think I can get back, I can manage, but that's the most dangerous thing to think. Um, because most of the times you probably can't, and in this situation, they definitely couldn't. So, what is the takeaway here? Well, it's simple but hard to execute. When you lose power just after takeoff, your job isn't to make it back to the runway. Your job is to fly the airplane, either land straight ahead or trim the plane for best glide and then put it down somewhere survivable. Often it's just straight ahead or off to the side, but almost never straight back if you're at low altitude. At 125 feet, you simply do not have time. You don't have options, and trying to turn around that almost never work. It almost always well, it almost ends in a crash if you try to turn back with no power, because you simply do not have time to turn, level out, and land safely. This isn't about judging the pilot and not about placing blame. This is more about us as pilots being ready, because when it happens, and it might happen to you, and it might not happen to you, you only got seconds to react. And if you train for it, then it becomes a lot easier to react the right way. And if you haven't, then go practice, glide, pick a field, trim, and commit. That's basically what you have to do. The habits of the habits you build right now might save your life in the future. So let me know what you think in the comments. Would you have tried to turn back as well? Would that have been an instinct popping up in your mind, or would you have tried to land straight ahead? And have you trained for this yourself? I read every comment and I try to learn from them if there is some wise words there. So thank you for watching, and fly safe, and I'll see you in the next one.